Tonight we're heading to a quiet council estate in Enfield, North London, a place that in 1977 became the centre of one of the most infamous hauntings in the world. Furniture flew, voices growled, children levitated, or so the headlines claimed. Investigators camped out in the house for months. Skeptics circled like vultures, and in the centre was a family that just wanted their life back. But what really happened inside 284 Green Street? Was it all real, a hoax, or a perfect storm of fear and stress and imagination? We're going to go through the events, the media frenzy, and the Hollywood sensationalisation of the story. This is the true story of the Enfield haunting, the story that the Hodgson family actually lived through. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 37 of Spooky and Kooky. I'm Ellen.
I'm Alice, and if you're into anything spooky, kooky, horror, paranormal, conspiracy, even a bit of true crime, then this is the pod for you.
Since we love doing Amityville so much, we thought we'd go back to our old pals Ed and Lorraine and come back to the UK and do Enfield.
Yes, so as everyone's I'm sure aware, The Conjuring 2 was based on this story, the Enfield Poltergeist. And I'm going to give you the movie plot, and we're kind of going to do what we did in the Amityville one of what's fact, what's fiction, what's the sensationalisation of it all.
So that's a bit of a tongue twister, that one.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that again. So, the Conjuring 2 movie told the story of the Hodgson family. It starts with Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are infamous in the paranormal world. I'm sure we all know who they are. The Warrens are at Amityville at the start of the movie, so it's quite a good one for us to go into, considering the last one we did of this ilk is Amityville.
Meant to be.
After their visit to Amityville, the movie shows Ed and Lorraine getting heat from the media about being hoaxsters. Lorraine was also deeply affected by Amityville, and she had a vision that Ed would fall onto a spike and die. She asked Ed if they could take a break on new cases for a bit, as she felt unnerved as this was happening. The Hodgson family from Enfield, North London began experiencing paranormal activity, which drew masses of media attention. The church then approached Ed and Lorraine to go and investigate, and the Warrens agree and head to England. They arrive at the home and spend time with the family. However, Lorraine couldn't feel anything supernatural in the home despite the worrying events. The Lorraine felt they could all be explained in another way. One night they set up a camera and catch Janet bending spoons and causing chaos. The Warrens leave and the Hodgsons are in danger. Ed and Lorraine, through audio recordings on their way back home, find out there actually was a demonic possession of the home. So rush back, and in typical style of the Conjuring franchise, there's a big standoff between Ed and Lorraine and the demon. During the struggle, Ed is hanging out from a window and lightning struck a tree, causing a spike below, just like Lorraine's vision. To defeat the demon, Lorraine, all she had to do was say its name. And luckily, the demon had already told her the name in an earlier vision she had, which was Valak. So the demon, it goes and everything's happily ever after. That's it in a nutshell. And I didn't want to go over the paranormal events that's happened in the film because we're going to go over that in just a second. But that's the plot.
I'm going to go into the family side of things and the early happenings. So I'll go into the family one by one first. So we have Peggy Hodgson, was a single mother living in a council house in Brimsdown, Enfield, raising 4 children on her own. According to documented accounts, she had separated from her husband around 3 years before the disturbances begin, leaving her to manage the household under financial and emotional strain. The family lived in a modest, semi-detached house on Green Street, and the separation became more difficult when her ex-husband began living with the new partner, which Peggy said intensified the stress in the home. Before the incidents, Peggy's life was defined by trying to keep the family stable after a painful breakup, managing a busy household and navigating the challenges of single parenthood in a working class area. Then we move on to Margaret. So Margaret was the eldest daughter, and she was living full-time at home with her mother and siblings. Before the disturbances, her life was shaped by the family's recent upheaval, the separation, financial pressure, and emotional tension created when her father moved in with his new partner. As the oldest girl, she was helping her mother manage the household and looking after her younger siblings. Margaret's pre-incident world was one of responsibility, routine, and a strain of trying to keep the household together.
Wasn't she 13?
13.
Yeah.
Janet was 11. She was the second youngest child and lived at the home with her mother Margaret and Billy. Before the disturbances, she was navigating the same family stresses as her siblings, recent separation of her parents, emotional fallout of her father's new relationship, and challenges of growing up in a crowded council house. There's no detailed pre-incident psychological or behaviour profile that sort of factors in pre-incident.
It would be helpful with Janet especially.
Yeah, it's clear she was living in a household under pressure with limited space and resources. Her life before the case appears to have been typical of a working class child in 1970s Enfield. Then we have Billy, who is 7, and he is the youngest child in the home. His pre-incident life is less documented, but he was again living with his mum and 2 sisters. Like his sisters, he was also experiencing the effects of family separation and the stress that followed, but there's no specific behavioural or personal background recorded about him prior to the haunting, only that he was part of the family and he was the youngest. Then we have Johnny Hodgson. I don't know how old Johnny was, but he didn't live in the house.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he did. Where did he live?
Well, he wasn't living there full time.
Why only him? That's really weird.
But yeah, so he was the eldest child. He was not living at the home full time before the disturbances.
Oh, see, I thought he was younger than... I thought he came in between Janet and Billy.
Oh, no.
Which was what would be so weird if he was only living there part-time.
Yeah, no,
but
he's the oldest.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. He was staying at a boarding school. His placement away from the home added to emotional strain on the family, and his absence meant he was not part of the daily household dynamic leading up to the events.
He was certainly in the film.
Yeah, they don't really mention him much in like documentaries or anything.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised, because I was like, I'm sure.
To be fair, in documentaries they don't even really mention Billy. They only really focus on the 2 girls.
Yeah. I guess because from what I understand is the 2 boys were quite a bit more private than Margaret and Janet.
I guess it all sort of centred around the 2 of them anyway. In the months leading up to the disturbances in August 1977, life inside 284 Green Street was unremarkable from the outside. The Hodgson home was a typical council semi-detached house in the North London suburb of Enfield, part of a densely populated residential area where neighbours lived in close proximity and daily life was communal and noisy. Nothing in the documented history of the house suggested anything unusual or foreboding. The family had not reported any strange occurrences before that summer, and there were no earlier complaints of unexplained noises, structural issues, or disturbances that might hint that there was something to come. Their home was simply one of many similar properties on the estate, indistinguishable from the outside and not associated with any prior paranormal claims. The wider environment of Enfield in the late 1970s was shaped by economic pressure, industrial decline, and the social challenges common to working class London boroughs at the time. Families in the area often lived in close quarters, and the Hodgsons were no exception. The house itself was small, with limited space for a family of 5, and the thin walls meant that sounds travelled easily between rooms and neighbouring properties. This created a backdrop where ordinary noises were part of daily life, and nothing about the setting suggested that the family was primed for or anticipating anything out of the ordinary. The household routine was typical: school days, evenings at home, and the usual bustle of children sharing bedrooms and living space. In the immediate period before the disturbances began, there were no recorded warning signs or escalating events. The first documented activity appears abruptly in the historical record: unexplained knockings, furniture shifting, and objects moving without clear cause. I know the knocking would shit me up.
Yeah. Do you know what though? I was interested to see if you mentioned anything about a Ouija board, because obviously in the Conjuring film, and this is what we're going to do, we're going to compare it to the film and find out the real story, but in the Conjuring film, the Ouija board that the 2 girls experimented with started it off. But it's interesting.
It's none of that.
Because obviously I didn't look into this, so I didn't know if you were going to say a Ouija board or not, but none of that.
Nothing at all. The lead up to the case is defined not by a chain of escalating escalating events, but its absence. An ordinary household with an ordinary London suburb, and no documented paranormal history, as I've said, or prior disturbances. The suddenness of the first night's activity is part of what made the case so striking to all those who witnessed it. And now I'll go into the events itself.
It must have been so scary for Peggy as a single mum.
Literally, because you are the person that has to try and be like, it's fine. You don't have anyone...
But at this point, it's knocking and noises, so she could have thought there was someone breaking in or something. Like, she's lucky she lived in a close, tight-knit community, because...
I know. I'd be out. Day one, I'm gone.
It would just be so unsettling.
Yeah.
It would be horrible.
It really would. Especially, well, we're going to it, but when the knocking, like, follows you. Like, it's unrelenting.
Oh, okay. This is going to be interesting.
It's horrible.
Oh.
On the evening of the 31st of August 1977, the Hodgson family were getting ready for bed when the first signs of trouble began. In the back bedroom, the chest of drawers started to sound as though it was shuffling across the floor. Peggy came upstairs and told the two girls off, insisting that they stop fighting and warning that if they carried on, she'd separate them. The girls tried to explain about the drawers, and before Peggy could dismiss it, the drawers moved again, this time right in front of her. It gives me chills. I've got chills.
I just don't know what I would do. I would just be so like... No.
I think it was a joke at first. Like,
how,
you've
though?
Tied this up. Are you pulling it? Are
It's
you
a heavy
pulling
chest
it?
of drawers.
Yeah, they are heavy. And then this would just add. She tried to push them back, but they wouldn't budge, as though someone on the other side was holding them in place. And that would,
No.
I'd be like, no.
That can't be a joke now, no.
This isn't happening, no. And that was the moment she realised there was something very wrong. The family stayed awake all night, terrified and confused, trying to make sense of what they had witnessed. Knocking echoed through the walls, accompanied by strange sounds that travelled through the house, tormenting them until morning. By the next day, Peggy was physically and mentally exhausted. Doing her best to stay composed for the children, she told them to get their coats and shoes on. They were going to visit their neighbours, Vic and also Peggy, Nottingham. Vic answered the door and immediately noticed how shaken the family looked. You could just imagine what they would look like on the doorstep. So dishevelled. Oh, God.
Just wide-eyed, white faces, dark circles under their eyes.
And they were still in their pyjamas as well. So you'd just be like, what is going on?
Something's gone on. What's Peggy short for?
I don't actually know.
No, I was just thinking it must have been a common name at the time. Is Peggy a name? Like, on its own? Like, not
I think it might just be a name on its own.
Oh, okay.
This
Fair
is
enough.
when someone's like, oh my God, you're so stupid.
It's actually Patricia.
Yeah, Petunia.
Yeah. It must be one of those things that doesn't automatically go to the name. It's just what people abbreviate to for fun.
Like Richard and Dick.
Yeah.
Obviously. The girls later described him as a big burly man, a former builder who wasn't afraid of anything. He listened carefully to the Hodgson's story and decided to go next door and check out the house himself. As he climbed the stairs, knocking began on the wall beside him. It moved into one of the bedrooms, then back onto the landing, then into another room. It seemed to follow him from place to place.
The next door neighbours, Peggy and Vic Nottingham.
We'd been sitting listening to the knocking, and the woman next door, she called me in. We couldn't make out what it was. I heard the knocking as I walked in the front door, but I went all over the house, checked it, checked the walls, checked everything. Just couldn't make out what it was. So in the end, I thought to myself, well, there's only one thing. I'll call the police.
Vic couldn't rationalise where the sounds were coming from, and even he began to feel unnerved.
Not surprised.
Yeah. He returned downstairs to speak with the Hodgsons, only for more knocks to rattle from the ceiling above.
I'm still here. Oh my God.
As a builder, Vic knew the usual sounds of pipework, rodents, or creaking boards, which is important to note, and this was none of those.
It's interesting as well that it was all on a or semi-detached house, because don't you think, like, surely hauntings, like, if they're going to haunt a residence, would they care about the barrier between the house?
Probably not, but I think it's more important that if there were signs of things happening before,
Yeah, they would all hear it.
they would all hear it. Yeah, but I don't think the ghost is like, oh, I'm not haunting a semi-detached.
I'm not haunting the Nottinghams here.
Gross. So it was at that point they all agreed it was time to call the police.
What else can you do? Like,
Yeah.
what can the police do, but what else
I
can
think
you
I
actually
would do that before going to the neighbours, but then maybe that's a sign of the times, because...
I don't even know what you would even say to the police, though. Like, hi, I know how this sounds.
I think you just say, can you check if there's someone in my house? Like, even though you know there isn't, because you've tried to push this thing that's moved and you can't.
Yeah, and the chest of drawers have moved in front of you. It's not like the knocks and stuff of someone hiding.
Yeah.
It's probably related to the incident with the chest of drawers.
Yeah, but it's good that it happened in the UK in a sense, because at least there's no Brahms situation where there's a man in the wall.
Yeah.
Because that's not happening.
Well, I was
any
about
house.
to say, like, they would be terribly unlucky to have the chest of drawers incident and someone living in the wall.
Imagine.
Just on top of that, making the knocking.
Not only a poltergeist, but also a man in the wall.
Yeah, so I don't know how I would approach the police, but yeah, I don't, because do you just ring and be like, I know how this sounds?
No, I think I would just try and keep it limited and be like, there's knocking in my house. Like, it sounds like there's someone in the house.
My neighbour, who's a builder, has said it's not normal. Please come.
Yeah, so the officers who arrived could find no obvious cause for the noises. With the children in the house, there was always the possibility of a prank. But as the family explained what had been happening, PC Carolyn Heaps witnessed a chair half an inch off the floor slide 4 feet across the room.
The poltergeist isn't shy.
No. Loves the attention. Her first instinct was to check the floor level, placing a marble down to see if it rolled. Quite smart, I suppose.
Yeah.
But surely all of the furniture would be at one half of the room if a chair...
Or the chair would just fall over. Would it slide?
Because she said she saw it lift off the floor.
Yeah, how does a room being... But I guess you just don't know what to think. Like the chest of drawers, you'd be like, my eyes have deceived me.
You try and rationalise it,
you
which is what
just
she
be
did.
like, oh my god, there's a ghost.
Yeah, but the marble stayed perfectly still, so that rules that out. She then inspected the chair for wires or hidden mechanisms, but again found nothing. Also, this is just a side note, but they called her WPC, and I was like, oh, that's weird. What's WPC? I was like, hopefully that doesn't mean woman police officer. No, that is what it meant. It was, and they were like, it's just an old term for the lowest ranking officer in the police. I was like,
damn.
Wow.
They sent her out to this as well, being like, this is just a nothing.
Let the WPC go a bit.
A single mother's got a bit spooked during the night from some noises. Send the WPC.
You women console each other.
This is a civil social matter.
The police told the family there wasn't much more they could do. They had checked the house and the garden and found nothing that could explain what anyone had experienced. Unsure where else to turn, Peggy decided to call the papers, specifically the Daily Mirror. When the reporters arrived, the events took an even stranger turn. On the evening of the 4th of September 1977, the Daily Mirror news desk received calls from both the Hodgsons and the Nottinghams. Photographer Graham Morris, working the late shift, kept answering the phone to Vic Nottingham, who insisted that strange events were happening next door. When Vic explained that several people, including the police, had witnessed unexplainable activity, the potential story became impossible to ignore. Graham and his colleague Douglas Bentz drove to the Nottingham's house to meet both families. Peggy was so shaken that she struggled to articulate anything to the men at all, which you would be. What an ordeal.
Broken.
Yeah, I wouldn't be sleeping in the house. I don't know if they're actually sleeping at the neighbours.
I think at the beginning, but I know they stayed there a lot.
Yeah, whilst they were being investigated.
I guess they wouldn't have any money for a hotel. Like, this is the thing. Peggy had a lot of limited resources, which might be a sign of the times, or just her situation, but she had limited resources, which is sad.
What can you do?
Yeah. If the police say they can't help you as well, it's kind of like...
Well, now what?
Hi, Daily Mirror.
Everyone then went next door to see what might happen. The cameras were set up quickly, but nothing occurred. They all sat down for a cup of tea, and as time passed, it seemed clear that nothing unusual was going to happen at all. The two men were packing up their equipment and loading the car when Vic suddenly ran out of the house, saying it had started again. They rushed back inside and immediately realised the house was far from normal. Small objects began flying across the room: marbles, Lego bricks, and bits of debris. Amid the chaos and screaming, Graham backed himself into a corner and tried to take as many photographs as he could, because he was
terrible plan.
Photographer man.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, what would you do? You'd be like, I'm gonna try capture this. No one could see where the objects were coming from, but it was obvious they weren't being thrown by anyone in the room.
And then this year Lego. I witnessed a box of Lego underneath the chair, but I walked into the room. As I walked into the room, the Lego began to fly. But where it was coming from, I don't know. One piece hit me on the arm, and
Did it hurt?
Oh, it brought a lump up. It caught me on the elbow, and it brought a lump up. And as I
One
say,
tiny little piece?
one tiny little piece of Lego. Now it's not much bigger than 3/4 inch, but it caught me on the elbow. And as I say, it brought a lump up.
Graham and the rest of the people later recalled that Graham himself was struck on the forehead by a Lego brick with such force that the mark remained for days.
Oh, get over it.
It's like,
Literally.
I've
been
suing.
struck.
Everyone scrambled to shove as many loose objects as possible into drawers to stop them flying around. Do you know what? It reminds me of Harry Potter when the letters are just flying.
And they're trying to plug up some holes and they just come from everywhere, yeah.
Like just pure chaos. Everyone's like...
And it's something so, like, innocent as well. Like, just little objects
Marbles
being
and
thrown.
Lego.
It's no actual threat to you, but it's so chaotic because it's so scary.
Although when Graham was saying that he was hit, he was like, well, you know, first a Lego brick, then maybe an ashtray or a knife. And I was like, all right, Graham.
Yeah, but did either of those hit you?
No. Well, you never know. It's because they put them all into drawers.
Yeah.
No one could say how long the activity lasted, but they all agreed on one thing. They left the house terrified and deeply unsettled. On the drive home, Graham and Douglas debriefed each other, trying to confirm that what they had witnessed had truly happened. But when the photographs were developed the next day, they failed to show what they had reported seeing. For some, the lack of photographic evidence suggested that the witnesses may have unintentionally influenced one another's memories of the event. Graham and Douglas returned to the house hoping to capture the elusive images, but in the days that followed, the journalists became so concerned for the family that they appealed for specialist help from the Society of Psychical Research. And that's where we end.
That's where I come in.
That's where you come in.
But do you know what? It kind of annoys me that people say, like, oh, lack of photographic evidence means that they encouraged each other's memories or whatever.
Yeah.
I just feel like, what are they capturing? Because when something's flying through the air,
And
especially
it's a
back
marble,
in those days,
so small. Yeah.
and it's not a predicted thing where you say, I'm going to throw it from this side of the room. It's just happening all around you. You're already panicked. But we'll go into what the society found.
Yeah. Also, I just, like, I know that, yeah, if you're saying, if someone was like, oh, I saw something out of the corner of my eye and I wasn't sure what I saw, and then you're like, oh, well, I saw it was this.
Yeah.
This is, like, in the room. Everyone's
Chaos.
looking at it.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what you can influence, because
No.
you all saw things flying around the room.
If that Graham guy's just, like, suddenly, like, tilts his head back and then he was like, I was hit by a Lego brick.
Like,
and then everyone's like, yeah.
He's like, there's the mark.
Okay. The Enfield Poltergeist investigation started after the media traction picked up, so Ellen's just gone through that, and the Daily Mirror reached out to the Society of Research, which I'm just going to call the SPR.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to
everyone
say the
calls it
name.
that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say the name a lot, and I don't want to trip up, so I'm going to call it the SPR. It was founded in 1882, a period of intense debate over spiritualism and scientific naturalism. Is that the Victorian era?
Yeah, it could have been.
Do you know what's funny? We bang on about the Victorians so much, I clearly don't even
They
know what it
always-
was.
Yeah, but I'm not very good at time periods.
No, the dates. But I think that might be during the Victorian era, because I remember when I was talking on the Mermaid episode for something about the Victorians, it was saying there was a time of spiritualism versus
They
scientific.
loved it. Yeah, they thrived.
So I think it is the Victorian
I'm just going to
era.
Google it quickly. Yeah, it said it started in 1837.
Okay, this is going to be a good society.
Yes.
It's dedicated to the systematic study of paranormal and psychic phenomena. It remains one of the most influential institutions in the field. It's known for its scholarly approach and its refusal to endorse any single interpretation of unexplained experiences. The SBR have no official stance on the reality of paranormal phenomena. It emphasises investigation, documentation, and critical inquiry rather than belief. The Society investigates reports of paranormal phenomena, publish reports, hosts lectures and conferences, and maintains an archive. They sent 2 of its members to be the primary investigators. First was Maurice Grosse, and soon was joined by his colleague Guy Lyon Playfair. Maurice Grosse, who was in the Conjuring film, was a British engineer turned paranormal investigator whose meticulous, hands-on approach made him one of the most influential figures in the Enfield case. He was born in Hackney in 1919 and served in the Royal Artillery during World War II. After the war, he started filing patterns with a mechanical toy, and later he developed rotating billboard technology, which became internationally and widely used. He then founded his own design and engineering consultancy in 1961. Maurice's interest in the paranormal developed after personal tragedy. This event developed Maurice's need to understand the possibility of life after death. He joined the SPR shortly before the Enfield case and became known for his persistence, patience, and willingness to spend long hours on site, even spending nights in the home. Enfield was his defining work, but also did investigate other cases across the UK. Guy Lyon Playfair was born in 1935 in Quetta, British India. He was son to a Major General and novelist. He studied modern languages at Cambridge University and also completed national service as a translator for the RAF. He had a career in journalism and worked for Life magazine. He moved to Brazil in the 60s and worked as a freelance journalist and photographer before returning to England 14 years later. When he was in Brazil, he had developed an interest in paranormal phenomena. Around 1972, he attended a session of psychic surgery, which I don't know what that is. I have heard stories of people doing psychic medical intervention, so I don't know if it's like that, but I've heard those stories, so that's what I'm thinking.
What, like a healing, like energies?
A healing doctor, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's what he got interested in. But he attended that, and it actually inspired his first book, The Flying Cow. So I don't know what went on at this psychic surgery session, but that's the name he went with.
It's a choice. I mean, it is grabbing.
Yeah. Which documented paranormal claims in Brazil. He conducted research into poltergeists, reincarnation, mediumship, and other anomalous phenomena. He joined the SPR in 1974 and later served on its governing council. So the reason I went into their backgrounds is just to show that these 2 men seem quite intelligent, quite respectable. One went to Cambridge, one had the billboard thing, which must have been really successful. He must have made bank off that. So yeah, these men are just 2 respectable people. Both men spent countless hours in the Hodgson home, documenting events, interviewing witnesses, and collecting recordings. When the investigators first stepped into 284 Green Street, they didn't expect what came next. What they documented over the following months became some of the most famous and most disputed evidence in poltergeist history. And what did they find? They reported knocking patterns that seemed to answer questions. Not random taps, but deliberate, rhythmic responses. The sounds were described as coming from inside walls, furniture, or structure of the house itself, never from an obvious source. And I think they would say knock once for no or twice for yes, but then they would ask it questions and it would knock in a pattern, and they've got recordings of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty weird.
Knock. 1 for no and 2 for yes. Are you a male spirit? 1 for no and 2 for yes.
2.
That's 2. You are a male spirit. Did you used to live in this house? You did. Was it more than 50 years ago? Yes. Did you die in this house? Did you pass on? You did pass on in this house. Now, why are you here? Are you unhappy? You're not unhappy. But why are you here? Is it because you want to give us a special message? No. You don't want to give us a special message. Are you having a game with me? Oh, right.
Oh, gross.
As I asked the question, are you having a game with me? It's through the cardboard box and the pillow right in my face. Well, thank you very much.
Then was the Bill voice, which is a harsh, gravelly male voice that appeared to come from Janet. It persisted for months. Speech therapists and ventriloquism experts were consulted, and some said the child could produce it, but only with strain. Others thought it was too sustained to be fake, and we'll come back onto that when we get into someone else a bit later. We have the physical disturbances, like Ellen said, the furniture moving, which was witnessed by other people, not just the family. Objects were thrown, and then we've got the levitation claims. So we've actually got a famous picture, or an infamous string of pictures from the house, which is Janet supposedly levitating from her bed.
It does look like she's jumped.
It does look like she's jumped. That is the counterclaim to it. It does look like she's jumping. The photographic and video evidence, they have still photographs that many show Janet in midair or objects mid-flight, or they have infrared recordings. Gross used early infrared equipment to monitor rooms at night. Some footage captured objects moving, though skeptics argue the quality was too poor to rule out trickery.
Do you know one thing, and you might go into this later, but one thing that made me laugh a bit, because I just thought... So 2 witnesses saw Janet levitating in the window, like off of her bed, and it was the postman and the lollipop lady. Both from outside saw this happen. And the lollipop lady was like, so I went straight home, took off my high-vis jacket, took off my shoes, laid on my bed and just tried to see if I could do it. And I was like... I just tried to see if I could lift myself off the bed. And I couldn't do it. And I was like...
I wasn't going to go into that. I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah.
And she said that on a documentary. That's embarrassing.
Oh, you know what you just think?
Damn.
I feel like that's one of those moments that you probably then relive the rest of your life. Like, why did I say that?
Oh my God.
Embarrassing.
That was really embarrassing.
Yeah.
So the SPR also found evidence of hoaxing, which is crucial. Gross and Playfair openly admitted that these girls faked some of the events, which we all know. Examples of suspected fakery was Janet bending spoons when she thought no one was watching, objects being thrown by the children caught on camera, and some of the knocking was fabricated during moments of boredom or attention seeking. However, the investigators argued that the fake events were obvious, while the most dramatic events were still unexplained. Those 2 were the main investigators. They're the ones that spent hours and hours on the ground in the house, and their final position is Morris believed the case was about 98% genuine, which in my personal opinion is a bit of an overstretch, because there was a lot of trickery going on. It seems, even just from that, it seems like quite a lot of moments. Guy Lyon Playfair believed the core phenomena were real, but it was surrounded by childhood mischief. So the 2 investigators that were there the most, whose job it is to rule out hoaxes, say the activity is genuine.
Do you think it's weird though that they were playing tricks and stuff? Because if I was being supposedly possessed, I don't think I would have the sense of humour. I
don't know if it's you just get used to it, because this went on for a while.
Yeah, it did, to be fair.
And you've got to think there's lots of opportunities in the house of the media being there just to get attention if you're a child and bored and...
I guess so. I know Maurice tried to disprove the voice thing quite a lot, didn't he? Because he put water in her mouth and like taped her mouth up and then made a...
Yeah.
And then the voice... Yeah, I know, it's savage.
The voice still happened though, sometimes.
Yeah, he said
Only
the voice
sometimes.
still happened.
Yeah.
Which,
To be fair, it's not.
That's
It might
not
not
weird.
happen every time because it's not a dancing monkey.
Yeah.
Anita Gregory was another important part of the Enfield investigation. Born in 1932, she was a psychologist and parapsychologist trained in experimental methods and earned a PhD from the University of London, focusing on parapsychology and the psychology of belief. She was known for her sharp analytical mind and her insistence on rigorous methodology. She was a long-standing and respected member of the SPR, known for her skeptical and critical approach to paranormal claims. So you were saying like skeptics are even part of this society. Anita's one of them. She often acted as a counterbalance to the more enthusiastic investigators, which we all know what that means.
People like us.
Yeah. And advocated for controlled conditions. She advocated for the investigation to be all proper. In the Enfield case, she was not a full-time investigator like Gross or Playfair, but she did make multiple visits to the house, observing the children's behaviour, the investigators' methods, and the general atmosphere of the case. She was far more sceptical than her other two colleagues, and Gregory concluded the phenomena was largely produced by the children, especially Janet. The investigators were too trusting, the environment encouraged attention-seeking behaviour, and that the case had become contaminated by media attention. She felt the girls were clever, bored, and capable of trickery, and that the investigators were unintentionally reinforcing it. She also argued that the overall conditions of the investigation were uncontrolled, with too many people coming and going, the house being chaotic, investigators being emotionally involved, the children not being properly monitored, and the evidence lacked scientific rigour. Gregory wrote a report, and her key points were that the girls were caught faking on several occasions. The voice phenomena, she argued, could have been produced by false vocal folds, which we'll go into in a minute. The levitation looked like jumping, and the investigators were interpreting ambiguous events as paranormal. And the levitation looking like jumping, Anita says it looks like jumping, but to be clear, Anita was shown the picture of it, whereas Morris and Guy, who were there on the scene, says it wasn't jumping, and I don't understand what their motive would be to lie, because they've already admitted that they made some things up.
Although their motive to lie is that you just said that was Maurice's life work pretty much, so I'm sure he got quite a lot from that case, so he's not going to be
No, they're a non-profit.
Yeah, but if did he write any books off the back of it?
Guy
Nothing
did.
at all. Well, so he made money off of it.
But Maurice wouldn't even need money, because he's got the billboard thing and his own...
But it's still just more notoriety, and that is one thing, but I guess because the cameras were like quite slow, weren't they? So they lost, I think it was a second a time, or over a second each time it would click.
And also it wasn't
motion.
a video recording jumping, so it was...
But why was that? Why didn't they have a record?
I don't know why you just wouldn't have a camera recording, but I guess if you're recording on film...
Yeah, you're using it all up. Because I know they had a motion, because that was the motion sensor camera, wasn't it? That was took 1 second until it clicked every time. So I guess it made it hard to see how it started. But it does look like It does look
like she's jumping, but I feel like Anita Gregory wasn't there and the other two were there. They've already said they faked some events. I feel like if they felt like it was jumping, they would have said it. That's just my opinion. I trust them. Maybe naively, but I trust those guys. So what are false vocal folds that Anita said was the thing behind the voice?
To say something.
Yeah. I'd like to know how you make this noise without bashing Janet's vocal cords to pieces. If I do it for half a minute, I get a sore throat.
Whose choice is it?
Is anybody there?
No.
Who's there?
Dr. Who.
So in your larynx you have two sets of folds, true and false. True vocal folds are the one you normally use while speaking or singing. False vocal folds produce a thicker, fleshy sound, and they sit above your true ones. this is all the anatomy and physiology, I don't really get it, but just you've got 2 sets of vocal folds, and this is what would make that sound. Under certain conditions, usually when someone strains their voice, growls, or uses special techniques, the false vocal folds can vibrate along with or instead of the true vocal folds. This produces a voice that sounds deep, gravelly, rough, growling, demonic, or unnatural. It's the same technique used in death metal growling.
That's what I was going to say. This is like Screamo, basically.
Yeah. Tooth and throat singing, and vocal fry and ventriloquism. However, supportive of the Hodgson's claims, they argued that using this for sustained periods is difficult and can strain or damage the throat, yet Janet managed to maintain this for hours at times, sometimes. She had no training to do this. The Bill voice was harsh, gravelly and low pitch, so matches the technique. However, witnesses describe it as distinctively different to Janet's voice. It had clear articulation despite the roughness, and most can only sustain this for minutes without proper training as well.
Yeah.
It can actually damage your vocal cords. I don't know how she would have done it. It also was inconsistent with false vocal folds, as when you use them and you're articulating like Janet does, there would have been a crack or a waver, whereas the voice is pretty articulate and able to have spontaneous conversation with the investigators. It is consistent with the sound that could have made those, but just how long she would have had to do it for and how well she articulated it without training. And look, she didn't have Google back in the day,
This is what I was
so
gonna
how
say.
on earth did she learn to do it?
No YouTube video that you can watch to do it or anything like that.
Yeah. So I actually wanted to just show everyone, do a little experiment here, because we're all scientific in that on this podcast. But I taught myself how to do it through the use of the internet.
Yeah.
And it's bloody hard. So I'm going to say, my name is Bill Wilkins, because she said it, doing the false vocal folds, and you will see how straining it is for me to do. Hello, I'm Bill Wilkins. It's really hard.
Yeah. Oh, I should have learned. I want to try it. How do you do it?
It's really
I don't know
hard
what
to
I would try to do then. I was
you just have to look it up and try it, but I can't explain, because I don't really understand. I don't know if I'm doing it right. I just watched a couple of YouTube videos and they said do these exercises.
How low can you make your normal voice go? I feel like
that's what they say to do, use the low hum and then kind of make it more gravelly by using those vocal cords.
Because I feel like I have quite a low voice anyway.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can get it quite low.
That still sounds like your voice though.
Yeah.
So this is what I don't understand, because Janet's voice, it's distinct, and how she kept that up for hours at a time.
Well, you just wouldn't be able to. And if
how did she learn it?
With her mouth taped and water in her mouth. And they know she still had the water in her mouth, because when they took off the tape, she spat it out.
Yeah. But even in this clip here...
Is anybody there?
No.
You can see she doesn't really move her mouth a
No,
lot.
she doesn't.
So she would have had to have been really good in ventriloquism.
Although they did say that her teeth were quite protruding, so it would be difficult to tell if she was moving her mouth anyway.
You can see when she does in other clips though.
Mum, slang a bookshelf at Margaret.
Have you tried telling it to go away?
Yes,
Yeah,
many
no
times.
nothing.
Yeah, but I think it's easier to hide. But even so...
She would have had to be quite good at the false vocal folds with no training, no internet. And when kids usually make that sound, it's because they do it accidentally. So I don't know if one day she just realised she could do it accidentally and then do it. But even this is with my one is with 2 days practice, which I know is nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know how it didn't crumble or come out of character.
Maybe it's did you ever, when you were a kid, did you ever try and scare yourself in the mirror?
By doing what?
This is when you're no. Making scary... I would pretend... I would either try and make scary faces at myself in the mirror or pretend that my reflection wasn't doing what... I'd try and catch my reflection out.
I'd done the second one, yeah.
Okay.
Trying to catch my reflection out, yeah. Not the best.
Okay. Well, maybe she did, maybe. But it still doesn't explain. If she was trying to freak herself out...
Try it later on.
I'm going to try
Look it up, false vocal fold technique.
But then that, again, is
'Cause
us
it's
looking
difficult.
it up. She would not have access to do that.
And do you know what? Even when you look it up, it's not straightforward.
Yeah, I feel
It's
like
not
you have
very
to train.
easy to do.
Like all the heavy metal people, they have to train quite hard to be able to do that.
And they have to do it for like a tiny bit, stop, and then build it up gradually.
Yeah.
So Janet's just never done this before and was able to keep it up.
They said 3 hours, not all the time, but 3 hours
Yeah.
is a long time to on and off be doing it and
And
not
was
have a
able
sore
to just
throat.
like spit bars back in
Yeah.
conversation. Just
And
so
sound
naturally.
normal when she is herself.
Yeah,
You know.
and didn't have any damage from the vocal cords. Nita Gregory, she said it was possible, and I believe the ventriloquism and speech and language people who were consulted, they were mixed by saying, I guess it's possible,
Yeah.
but it would just be really difficult to do, and that's kind of where I sat, because I thought, I'm just going to try it myself to see how it feels to do it. I don't understand how an 11-year-old girl kept that up.
I know one lady said she tried it and her voice was literally sore for 2 days after doing it.
Yeah, I don't understand how an 11-year-old would have kept it up. I don't
And been
understand
fine,
how
yeah.
she learnt it. It would, yeah, it's...
And the dog bark sound as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. It also barked, which I don't know how she did
It
that.
really sounded like a dog as well.
Let me hear you say my name. Come on, let me hear you say my name. That's not my name. Come on, my name's Morris. Let me hear you say it.
Like it really sounded
Yeah,
like a
I'll
dog.
put the recording up. It sounds like a dog barking.
Yeah.
I don't agree with Anita Gregory's conclusion on the voice. I don't understand how it could have been made by an 11-year-old girl.
No.
But
I agree.
we're going to talk about Bill Wilkins as well, because obviously I've said it's the Bill voice, and I said, hello, I'm Bill Wilkins. Bill Wilkins is who the voice said it was. That's who he introduced himself as.
Right, that's good. Shut up, and door. I'm 72 years old. I come from Jewett Park, graveyard. And I have right near the church where Rena lives. And all my friends come from there as well. And we all make a game and go to the pub. And then we pick your house. Because I used to live here. And I will tell you some more. And if you don't get anyone else, just take Mr. Hook and Mr. Playback.
Interestingly enough, the guy who lived in the house, I don't know if it was the person before them.
It was
or-
the person before them.
I know it was, he lived in the house at some point, but so
I
it was the
think it was
person before him.
yeah.
He had actually died in the home in the living room, and when investigators asked Bill more information on himself, he was able to say how he died from a brain hemorrhage
Yeah.
and what position he died in, which has all been confirmed by his son.
I want you to tell me whether you remember what happened to you when you died. Just before you died and just after you died.
Days before I died, I went blind. Then I had an hemorrhage, and I fell asleep, and I died in a chair in the corner downstairs.
Why can't Janet feel you?
I'm invisible.
You're invisible. Why are you invisible?
So much G-H-O-S-T.
Did any friends go with you?
Yes, all of them. All the dogs, 68 dogs.
And what do you got 68 dogs for?
So that they can protect me You kidding me? That's quite your riddle.
How can we kill you, Bill?
You could shoot me off.
Now how can we shoot you if we can't see you, Bill?
One man to God.
Sorry, I didn't hear that, Bill.
One man to God.
By praying to God.
So some people say, okay, well that doesn't mean anything because, you know, the answers were vague enough for Janet to have a lucky guess.
I don't think they were, actually.
How on earth could you just have a lucky guess at that? So
I don't think it was vague at all. I think it's very specific.
It's very specific. It's literally got his first and last name, method of how he died, and where he was found.
Yeah, and because I remember, because he said what? It was like, I went blind, I was sat in my chair.
Yeah.
I was sat in my chair in my living room.
Yeah.
When I went blind and had a hemorrhage and died.
Yeah.
Like, that's not...
So, I don't understand that thread of thinking of, oh, it's just a lucky guess, because I don't think an 11-year-old would even know what a brain hemorrhage was to guess.
No, and you might know the name because you might get post come through that hasn't been stopped or whatever. That could happen. But all the other stuff?
So they said because of the close-knit community, maybe the kids overheard details of the man living previously in the house.
It's a bit of a weird thing to talk about, though.
It is a bit of a weird thing to talk about, but I think that is a possibility. However, I don't know how much an 11-year-old child would take in and, like, be able to say hemorrhage well. Do you know what I mean? Because if you just overhear that in conversation, you don't know what a hemorrhage is, so you're not going to know he went blind before. You're only going to know that if you're Bill Wilkins.
Yeah. I
don't understand how it could be a lucky... I don't understand why people say stuff like, oh, lucky guess. How could she guess all of that? Even if she knew the name of the guy, the fact out of all the ways you could die, an 11-year-old chooses brain hemorrhage.
Yeah, in your favourite chair.
Yeah, like you're just guessing on a game of Cluedo. Honestly, it's odd. Like, when people sometimes obviously listen to us maybe and think this is ridiculous,
too hard for it.
You're going too hard for it. But I think that's ridiculous going too hard the other way.
Yeah, it does go both ways.
Because sometimes there's a middle ground. Maybe she overheard it. Okay, I can accept that maybe she overheard it. I'm not saying one way or the other, but I'm not accepting that that's a lucky guess. Change my mind. Honestly.
Yeah, surely.
When I read that, it just really rattled my cage because I thought, sorry. And interestingly enough, so Guy Playfair obviously wrote his book, and his main points was that it was consistent with a poltergeist haunting.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to run through what poltergeist haunting was. Poltergeist cases have a surprisingly consistent pattern across cultures and centuries. Whether you approach them from a psychological event or a paranormal disturbance, both have the same core characteristics that appear again and again. So again, we've got this theme of across history, across the world, these same events happen. That's why they can be categorised as a poltergeist case. Most poltergeist cases centre on a single individual, often called the agent, and can usually be adolescents, especially girls. They usually appear in families with emotional stress, family tension, recent trauma or upheaval, and the person has sensitivity or suggestibility. They can rarely last for years. The typical duration is weeks to months, occasionally a year or two, and the activity usually comes in waves, with quiet periods followed by sudden spikes. The hallmark of a poltergeist case is objects being thrown or moved, furniture shifting or tipping, doors opening or slamming, lights turning on and off, appliances malfunctioning, water appearing or dripping without cause. And these events seem to defy normal physics, but they occur in chaotic environments where trickery is possible, which is why they are so debated. They also universally include rhythmic or patterned knocks, sounds coming from walls, floors or furniture, knocks that seem to answer questions, sudden loud bangs with no clear source, and obviously they were heavily documented at the Enfield case. So far, it's got everything that Enfield had, but I'm thinking if you're already a researcher, because he did research poltergeist in Brazil, like, could you manufacture the whole investigation?
Well, yeah, but the incidents prior to the involvement.
Yeah, it was
were
the
already,
same, yeah.
I think Maurice said that he mentioned to, obviously, the family that he thought it was a poltergeist, and they didn't know what a poltergeist was. Like,
Yeah.
none of them had ever heard. I mean, I don't know whether they did or didn't, but he said they seemed to be like, what the hell is a poltergeist?
Yeah. And I don't know if, like, in 1977, obviously today we've got loads of movies. There's even a movie called The Poltergeist. So
Yeah.
is it more widely known about today because of media?
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't know if it's that strange that they didn't know what it was.
I don't think so, because I think
Yeah,
it was
I
like
don't
a
think so.
taboo thing at the time,
Yeah.
really, isn't it? That you don't really talk about.
Voice phenomena in some cases occur, often presenting the same as Enfield. Reported in a minority of cases is levitation or apparent human movement, people being pushed or pulled, children being lifted or thrown from beds, objects suspended in midair, and they are events that are the hardest to verify and the easiest to misinterpret. There are theories on what poltergeists are. Parapsychological explanation is that unconscious emotional energy from a living person, usually an adolescent, causes physical disturbance which the person does not intend to cause. It's an involuntary release of stress or conflict, and I don't know about this explanation just because I have been chronically stressed my whole life, and like I feel like everyone is. Like surely it would occur more frequently if it was this kind of like weird energy release of stress.
I don't know, because maybe you have to have a sensitivity to, like, maybe it's the perfect conditions.
Yeah,
and
so
that
it's
is
more
one
rare.
factor, because it would make sense if they, because like there's that explanation that ghosts aren't necessarily like a soul but a memory,
an energy
from a memory of something that's so horrible that happened, or has soaked into the walls or whatever. So I don't know, I feel like
Possibly.
that's possible.
The traditional supernatural interpretation is that it's a spirit and that's responsible. So in the Enfield case, that would be Bill Wilkins, the man who formerly lived in the house. And the last theory is that it's a hoax, it's purposefully created, or just a misinterpretation of noises. So I feel like there's too much in the Enfield case to say it was just a misinterpretation.
For sure.
Most cases fade gradually with a slow decline in activity, which is what happened at Enfield. Apparently it just kind of fizzled out and went, which is also in line with a poltergeist. So, you might have noticed, I haven't mentioned the Warrens yet. Do you want to know why?
Did they just nip in at the end when it was getting all big and they're like, hi guys?
It's honestly a joke. It makes me so mad that the movie centred around them, and like, let me just get into it. So just like Amityville, Ed and Lorraine Warren were involved in the Enfield case. However, their involvement was far smaller than the films about the case would suggest. Accounts from investigators on site indicate the Warrens visited briefly, were not part of the official investigation, and their claims of deep involvement are disputed by primary witnesses. They visited the home only once.
Once is all you need.
According to recordings and notes from Morris and Guy, they were not invited, they just came on their own. So the church didn't ask them to come, they basically just saw the media storm and was like, we need to get over to the UK.
Quick whistle-stop tour to Enfield.
Turned up unannounced when there's already this SPR researchers on site, so they were a bit put off because they were like, we haven't asked for your involvement, like, why are you here? And Ed and Lorraine had a different feeling from the house than the SPR investigators. So why I went into the SPR and what they do is because I wanted to make this point. They just want to find out what's real and what's not. They want to document cases and put it in the archive. Ed and Lorraine were part of the Catholic Church and believed in Catholic demonology. So even before they had made their brief visit unannounced, they had basically said, oh yeah, this Enfield haunting, the house is demonically possessed.
Obviously.
So the SPR were kind of like, you've made your own minds up without any investigation.
Yeah, you've not even seen or been in the house.
Yeah, but then you're coming with this conclusion.
With prejudice, yeah.
So they already didn't trust them, but it was made worse when they got there, they didn't do any investigating, bring any equipment or anything to actually look into those claims. And then it was made worse by Ed. So Ed basically made a comment to the SPR investigators that this would be really profitable. Yeah. And obviously the SPR SPR is a non-profit organisation. Like I said, they just want the facts, the evidence.
Yeah.
They're in it for that. So Ed coming in and then saying this, and they had already been disgraced from Amityville. They were already under heat from Amityville. So there was just a lot of mistrust and just a feeling of like, why are you here? And then they said that and they were like,
these guys.
Yeah, like, oh, this is a bit weird.
Yeah.
So when the Warrens later spoke publicly about Enfield as one of their major cases, so it wasn't just the Conjuring franchise that took it on and gave it legs in that dramatisation. The Warrens themselves spoke about it as if it was one of their major cases.
How annoyed would you be?
And this is what I mean. I would be so livid. They framed it as a demonic haunting consistent with their broader worldview, and their descriptions of the haunting does not match the accounts of the SPR investigators who lived in the house for months. But obviously the Warrens they had more of a media presence. SPR aren't doing it for the media presence. So naturally, Ed and Lorraine are going to be the ones getting in front of the microphone. So if you don't look into it, I believed it was one of their major cases. This is why I'm so annoyed.
This
Because
is
I just
what we
think,
said,
what the
wasn't
hell?
it? Yeah, we were like, we both said that we thought Ed and Lorraine Warren were kind of cool until we started looking into it, and now we realise that they're actually pretty scummy.
They're really problematic. So just because we came to this conclusion in Amityville as well, they've got quite a lot of problematic things to ask for, and I just thought they were in it for the right reasons. Just that they both had a passion, whatever they believed, whether it was real or not, they were in it for the right intentions. And I would just see that's
not the pound
true.
signs or dollar signs.
Yeah, they've had Amityville, which they were just after the money and really sensationalised it. And what really annoyed me in the Amityville case is the pass they gave to Butch DeFeo, basically being like, oh, he was possessed, when he wasn't, and that's a legal issue.
And the fact that they tormented the children and were like, oh, we're going to put you, like, let's see if you've got any special powers, and you're like...
Yeah, no, they're just not good. And then the Enfield case, basically coming unannounced to an investigation, saying it could be profitable, and then just leaving without actually investigating, and then having the audacity.
We did so much for that family.
Yeah, apparently the Hodgsons barely spoke to them, they didn't really know why they were here.
Who are these
Because the SPR investigators had a really good relationship with them. Obviously they were staying in the house.
Yeah.
The Warrens just swarmed in from overseas.
Yeah, wasn't there for fires and stuff as well? Or there was a little fire?
Oh, I didn't know about that.
I thought there was, but maybe not. But yeah, I don't know if that was the main one of the main events, this little fire that happened. And then Janet went to her psychiatric facility for 2 months, to be analysed to make sure.
Okay,
and then after that, I think that's when it stopped.
What was the result of the...
She was fine. She was normal. There were no issues. And then I think it stopped after that. But they made a big deal of it being... and I think Maurice might have suggested this is what he thought when you said about that it's the stage that you are in your life.
Yeah.
And that it's adolescence because it's all your hormonal changes as well.
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest event, they were like, oh yeah, that's when she had her first period. Which I was like, oh my god, you're just going to out her like that.
That's in the dramatisations as well, though. They make a thing about, showing that it was her first period. But this is also apparently typical with Poltergeist. They come around puberty.
Yeah.
And once puberty passes, or once the event passes, so I'm wondering if it was just as she was taken out of her environment, the stress decreased and everything.
Yeah.
If it's real, if it wasn't hoax, because obviously...
Who knows? But yeah, that was
100%.
actually legit. That part was true.
Damn. Okay, so I've just gone into the aftermath and the family's opinions after all of this.
Yeah.
So the Hodgsons' opinions often are overshadowed by investigators, skeptics and Hollywood, the Warrens. But when you look closely at what they've said over the years, a very human picture emerges, one shaped by fear, stress, embarrassment and later reflection. So Peggy, the mother, basically consistently says it all happened and I just wanted my life back. I never wanted it to happen. She never gained anything.
No.
The family did not make a penny, unlike the Lutzes. The family, literally all of the investigation was owned by the SPR, so the family didn't have the
profit or
and
anything.
apparently Peggy was just like, I don't have the time to
Fair.
make money on this. I'm a single mum in a working class household.
She still lived in that house until she died, didn't she?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, did she die in the lounge?
Oh, I don't know.
Same as Bill. Maybe
Oh.
that's something that's come from The Conjuring, so I don't want to say that for sure, because I'm pretty sure at the end of The Conjuring 2, and now I know how absolutely
BS.
non-factual that film is.
No Ouija board.
I wouldn't have even cared if they amped it up and just used the actual investigators, but because it's part of the Conjuring franchise, obviously they were like, we're going to have to put Ed and Lorraine Warren in this, even though they did nothing. Anyway, Janet has said during the event she felt taken over, described being pushed, pulled or thrown, didn't remember some of the episodes and was frightened by the voice that came through her, and did admit to faking a few things but insisted the majority was real. Margaret said the same. She supported her sister's accounts, and I'm pretty sure the boys, like I said, they report witnessing the events and believe something real happened, but as they got older, they weren't public at all. And I can't remember, I don't have it written down, so I'm not going to say, but one of them died at like 20.
Oh, really?
By having cancer. Yeah, so...
Yeah, I don't... It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because if they made it all up, at some point you'd be like, oh, I'm honestly sick of hearing about this. Like, this has followed me my whole life. It's not real.
They seem really... Janet doesn't like the publicity. She's like, I don't want to be remembered for this. So...
And I think they had even been, like, many reporters had tried to get them to embellish or change their story
and they
for
wouldn't.
money, and they never have.
This is the thing, I don't understand the motive of the family making it up.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense because they literally got nothing other than, like, trouble from it.
And Janet, like, you could say at 11 she had attention-seeking behaviours and then kind of grew out of it. Like, I'm sure many children do. But to keep that up for, I'm pretty sure it was over a year that the events were happening across.
Yeah.
So, yeah, final thoughts from me. I believe it.
I also believe it, to be fair. There's too many big things that literally can't be proved in any other way. I think the voice thing is damning for me.
Yeah.
Just that on its own.
Honestly, guys, when you're watching this, go and Google how to use false vocal folds and try it yourself. Because when you can see how much I strained. And if you can't, when you do it yourselves, you will realise how difficult it is.
Yeah.
Just the feeling. And it's not meant to hurt. Like, what I read is if it hurts, stop. But it doesn't, it's not a pain. It's just...
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable and it's strain. And there's just no way I could form full sentences and have a spontaneous conversation, because I had to rehearse that, and that's the line I was rehearsing, because I wanted to do what Janet said. So that for me is quite damning. Do you know what? It makes me feel a little bit better to say it was real, that we didn't say the Amityville one was real.
Yeah.
I feel it just makes us a little bit
We're
more
credible.
unbiased, because then it's like, okay, we don't just believe anything.
Yeah.
Even if we're a bit naive and like susceptible to believe weird things, we didn't believe the Amityville case because there was enough to suggest it just didn't happen.
And the family were in it for the wrong... Well,
there was all the
family
motivation
that gained...
there.
The family members who were peddling the story...
Yeah.
Had ulterior motives. And I just don't know how she would know exactly where he died and, you know, all of that stuff. There's just a lot of things.
And you know what? Just thinking about the other comparisons to Amityville, think about it. The Hodgsons spent one night in that house before approaching their neighbours the next morning. George and Kathy spent 28 days. So I think... obviously the Hodgsons are genuinely terrified and not knowing what's happening.
Because that is a normal reaction. I'm sorry, there's knocking on the walls, furniture is moving, day one, I'm out.
Yeah.
I am speaking to someone about this.
Yeah, and what happened in Amityville, they should have been out sooner, in my opinion, if it was genuine, because you would be terrified.
And that was all... witnessed by family alone, whereas this multiple outside people have witnessed things that would have no gain in saying they've witnessed things. Police.
Yeah,
the
because she's
lollipop
already
lady.
like we said, she's already at a disadvantage in her career, that policewoman.
Yeah.
Because she was just saw at like the lowest branch. So why would she then go on record and sign a statement saying, yeah, I saw the chair move? Because you're going to be laughed at.
And it's not like it was her first thought, like, oh my god, it's haunted. She tried to rationalise it before she was like, look, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, but this is what I saw. And also, I think, you know, these two investigators, like I said, they spent hundreds of hours in that home. They've got loads of recordings, they've got loads of documentation. Comparing it to the Warrens' investigation of Amityville, it's just not a comparison. They spent like 1 day in the house. So, like, these guys really did their due diligence, and I think it's real, but please let us know down in the comments below what you think. And please try the voice thing, because it's
don't
just
hurt yourself.
It's just one of my main points, though, of like, when I realised how hard it was to do, I was like, there's no way an 11-year-old without the internet is learning how to do this. There's just no way. There's just no way.
That is a sad thing, though. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, a lot of things, if they happen now, I would believe so much less because of what is available to us now.
Yeah,
but
it's easy.
Yeah, you just don't know what's real and what's not real anymore. Whereas back then, obviously, none of that stuff was around.
There wasn't even many heavy metal bands.
Well, but even if you knew that it was possible, right? I just think, there's just no videos. Like, information was not as widely accessible as it is now.
Information is abundant now for these little weird things that you can learn, and all of this. Like, you could literally make a poltergeist haunting because you could look up exactly like I've done and say the characteristics.
We can
of
edit
the haunting.
knocking in now in our videos.
Yeah. How do you know it's real or not?
We could AI a ghost person in our videos. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's anything is possible.
I might do that. Just to stand there, just to prove we can do it.
No. But
But let us know down below what you think. If you think we're naive, that's fine. Live in your delusion.
And we'll live in ours. But yeah, do let us know. I think even a rational person would think this is. I'm not saying we're irrational, but we do like to believe it. It's a hard one to disprove.
Obviously, Anita Gregory has her points, and she's a lot more educated than myself in the topic, but I don't believe her. I don't believe her. It's simple of that. She did go into like the psychology of it all and how the investigators could have misinterpreted things and how like even ambiguous sounds were then part of the investigation, whereas some sounds were ambiguous and then some sounds were hoaxed. But
that might be true. But
that might be true. There's still a core something going on.
Yeah.
So I don't believe her claims.
No. Okay. Well. So this is the Twisted Tongues for the next episode. Let us know if you can guess what it is. I think this one is guessable.
Yeah,
it's guessable.
Probably, yeah.
In shadows deep where data sleeps, a marketplace of hidden keeps, masks are worn and truth misled, where whispers trade what light once shed. Let us know what you think.
And I don't know if it's guessable because I know what it is or not. So let us know.
That's facts.
Yeah, because I'm like easy. All of them are just obvious, but it's because I know what it is.
But I don't think it's as also, it's obviously a widely known thing. It's not like Plum Island. That's quite niche.
Yeah, that was very niche.
This is more that.
Yeah, worldwide.
Oh,
that's another hint. Okay, we'll end it there. See you next time, guys.
Bye.
Spooky and kooky, mystery